The watch list starts off with Johnson & Johnson. So JP Morgan has a health expo, health conference that starts on tomorrow and carries out through Thursday. Now it's going to have all kinds of stuff on there, but obviously the elephant in the room is going to be the vaccine. You know, how are we going to carry this out? There's already a lot of issues with this as it relates to who's actually getting the vaccine. Distribution has seemed to have bottlenecked significantly. And so I think that Johnson & Johnson could start talking about their rollout. There's been a lot of rumors that Johnson & Johnson is the best setup, has the best setup for a rollout of probably the largest amount of vaccines out of all of the companies that already have them combined. I mean, the capability of Johnson & Johnson could be significant. And also, there's rumors that the plan is to have everybody could have access to vaccines by the end of this year. So that would be incredible. Yeah. So if Johnson & Johnson follows through with that, we hear any kind of news on that, I think Johnson & Johnson does make a really nice move. And maybe some of the other ones will too. But I really like Johnson & Johnson the best.
Yeah, what is the chart looking like? It's funny because Johnson & Johnson is just kind of low key. They've been moving great, but if they get any sort of like real big news, this thing could go off.
Yeah. And you see that this has been moving up, and it's interesting that this continues to move up, especially as some of the other ones have significantly dropped with Pfizer and Moderna and some of the other ones, but Johnson & Johnson continues to roll. And I think it's because investors know that Johnson & Johnson is going to probably be the leader when they carry out the vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. Number 2, I have a Lululemon. And the reason why I brought up Lululemon, and we've talked about it a little bit with the crew, but this week they're actually they're slated to provide their fourth quarter holiday sales numbers. So the guidance, according to the analyst, they expect them to raise it to 20% for their growth from their previous forecast, which was low teens.
Yeah.
So we should see high teens to even 20%. If they have 20%, this thing could really get moving, and they're about 10% off their highs, and we're looking for 400.
Yeah.
I think it breaks it. I think it gets to all-time highs if they actually forecast that. We don't know which day it is, but it sounds like it's going to be this week. That's what we're hearing, and I think actually the chart looks pretty good as well to make a run.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this, and there's a pretty clear resistance up here at around 388. We're only about $15 off of that. So if this actually gets above that 388 mark, probably closer to 389, I think that we actually do start to see a run towards those highs, which is around 399.90. So for here, you bring up an interesting point. We've been so bullish on Peloton, but Lulu is definitely in the same space. Yeah. We've talked about how, you know, there's this battle going on between people who think that gyms are here to stay, and they probably will be to a certain extent, but you know, working out from home is actually going to probably become more and more of the norm rather than, you know, people flocking back to gyms. I don't think that's just going to be a thing.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to bring up. And the bigger reason why I'm bullish on Lululemon, I think it's a perfect time to get in, but the real reason is Mirror. So their at-home fitness product is called Mirror.
Right.
And bro, I've been looking more into it. I knew what it was, but I didn't really look into it. Number one, I've been talking to people who've had it. They love it.
Yeah.
Lululemon has the following, the loyal following. I'm trying not to say cult anymore, so I'm going to start saying loyal following. They have the loyal following, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is perfect. What's the big complaint people have regarding like treadmills, and even they say Peloton, it's going to turn into a clothes rack, right?
Right.
This is non-intrusive. You could put it whatever you want. You can mount it. You can just prop it against a wall, and it's really mobile. So I love that aspect of it. The other thing is, it's actually a mirror.
Yeah.
So like put it in a room, and when it's not on, it acts as a mirror. And so I was thinking about how like use cases for it and how I would use it, and like even working out. And it's almost like you feel like you have your own instructor. So one could make the argument that from a class perspective, like it could be better than Peloton.
Yeah.
And I know they've got their own workouts in their classes or whatever, but it's so cool how they set it up, and you guys have probably seen the ads with the person in the mirror. It looks like that person's right there with you.
Yeah.
Whereas Peloton, you feel like you're in a class with other people. So I think the mirror is going to blow it away. I was a little skeptical on it in the beginning, but I think it's going to blow it away. And especially with the loyal following, they have a built-in base that I think is going to just scoop it up. So when we hear numbers of that, and hopefully we'll hear it at earnings, I think this is going to be huge.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't know. I think this is just going to be the way that people work out, you know, whether it's at home type stuff or what have you. I think that any company that gets into this space, and we've seen this from even like NordicTract and Nautilus and stuff like that, they're all moving this way, guys. So if they're all trying to pivot this way, it's probably safe to say that this is kind of going to be the future of the way that people do fitness. So if you guys don't know about the Chaos Crew, the Chaos Crew is a channel membership. We also have other services that we provide over at ownthechaos.com. You could also go to stockwatchsunday.com. We got both of those. They both do the same thing essentially. But if you guys want to be part of that, you get daily watch lists from us. You also get access to our portfolios, see what we're in, all that good stuff. And we do private live streams and helpful tip videos, and all that stuff gets to the Chaos Crew for $4.99 a month. It's really cheap, but we provide a ton of value. If you guys want to be part of that, click the join button next to subscribe. The link is also in the description. We'd love to have you guys part of the crew and continue to support us and the channel.
And free Jack Ma.
And free Jack Ma. For me, the next stock that I want to talk about is KBH. Now, they have earnings on Tuesday, and we're going to start to roll into earnings season. So the banks actually start earnings on Friday, and they're going to carry into next week. So I always get pumped for earnings season, man. It's always just wild and crazy. So this is kind of the start of it. So KBH, if you guys don't know anything about them, they're KB Home. They're a home builder. Not quite as large or prolific as my favorite home builder stock, which is D.R. Horton, DHI. But I think that this could be something that actually could be a precursor to what is to be expected for DHI and Zillow, all the other home builder or home related, real estate related type stocks. So this is interesting. Analysts are expecting about a 27% decline for the quarter ending in January, which I don't know, man. I feel as if that seems like an awful lot, especially with the amount of, the way that real estate sales have been just going, interest rates being low, all that stuff. 27% just sounds like an unbelievable number to me. Is
that sequential or is that year over year?
It's just for the quarter. So compared to last year.
So year over year for the quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does seem low. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. And so the decline, they said that they're going to be declining 1.14 billion, 29% drop in profits. Expectations going to be around 93 cents per share. I say they come in at $1.07. And if we come in and look at the chart here as well, it's actually at a reasonable level. It's at 33 bucks per share. So we could end up seeing a nice little run tomorrow, maybe even going into Tuesday's earnings. I think that they beat earnings and they actually start to potentially make a run back up to that 42.20, which actually is a pretty tough resistance for it, as it was pretty close to the high before the actual crash occurred. But this could be something that could be really good to get into. And I have to say that I'm quite bullish here on KBH.
Yeah, home builders in general, we talked about this when we did talk about D.R. Horton. We talked about the idea that the issue with the industry is supply.
Yeah.
And you can't force people to sell their houses. So what's the next option is to build your own house. So I think this is going to be a huge year for home building. And admittedly, I didn't realize it was earnings. So I'm going to throw a number out there. Would you say $1.07?
Yeah.
So according to my calculations, I am going to say that it is, I do agree that they beat, and I'm going to say it's going to be 99 cents.
Okay.
99 cents.
That's good. That's good. So just under $1. I see that somebody had mentioned that DHI doesn't move, and recently it hasn't. But if you really want to take a look at DHI and how it's moved since March, I mean, it's literally moved 250% from its lows. So to say it hasn't moved at all, I think it's a little bit crazy. But it has come down on the sentiment that home sales are going to be down. So we'll see what happens with KBH, and this could probably influence other things like DHI or even Restoration Hardware, some of those other ones too. So looking forward to that. That's definitely why I have it on the watch list for this week.
Yeah, so the next one at number 4, I have NVDA. The beautiful NVIDIA, the N and Fat Man Zoom. And so NVIDIA, it's not Netflix. Sorry to burst your bubble. So I love NVIDIA in general, but Neo Day, they made a huge announcement that NIO is partnering with NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And so NVIDIA is going to provide the chips for their autonomous vehicles. This is huge. They make a lot of sense. It's smart for NIO. And I'll tell you what, I love the move for NIO because you've expressed concerns about Chinese automotive companies and just their lack of reliability and quality, and you're partnering with best in class.
Right.
It shows you that they're serious about this. I have a little bit of concerns about cost, but that's a long-term concern for NVIDIA. Man, NVIDIA has been sideways pretty much since November.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be the kick in the ass that it needs. With that being said, Brad, there's not a bone in my body that doesn't believe this isn't going to move. However, remember everybody, I've told you this in our bold predictions. The ARM acquisition is holding this thing up. So even if it does run up, I think there'll be profit taking. I don't see it getting to all-time highs. I think it'd be in a nice spike. But this year, it's all about the ARM acquisition. I firmly believe that's the reason why this thing is just kind of stagnant and sideways.
Yeah, we look at the chart and it looks to be around 537, 538 is a tough resistance for it. It's really struggled to get above that. And it's kind of maintained in this, I don't want to really call it a channel, but it is a kind of a channel between 538 and around 518. It's kind of hung around in there for the most part with a couple of days here and there outside of that. But I think that if this NIO news can move this above that 538, we should start to see some really nice movement out of this for the days to come. So it will be interesting, and this does make me feel a lot better about NIO for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I think that this is a big deal. I think it's a bigger deal for NIO than it is NVIDIA. So we'll see. I'm sure that NIO is probably going to move off of that. But the other thing about NIO too is that there seems to be, and we talked about this last Stock Watch Sunday, guys, was that, you know, if there wasn't anything crazy surprising through NIO Day, that we could see some selling off on Monday. And while this isn't on the watch list for this week, it seems as if NIO Day was overall underwhelming, with the exception of perhaps this partnership with NVIDIA.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I need to dig deeper into it. So on the surface, I haven't heard much about it.
Which is probably pretty telling.
Yeah, I know. We would have known. Everybody would have told us. Ross Matthews said, "I'm surprised NIO hype has not moved NVIDIA yet." Well, that just came out
on Saturday.
Yesterday. So, but he also mentioned you've come a long way from not scoffing every time the ticker NIO gets brought up.
Yeah. Tattooed Chef has taken the place of NIO now.
Yes, that is true. So that's a great one, guys. Yeah. Keep an eye on NVIDIA. We'll see if this can be the one that finally gets it moving.
Absolutely. Now, for me, the last stock that I have as far as our watch list for this week is going to be IPOF. Ask me why, Fat Man Zoom.
Why, Brad? Why?
Because of IPOE. So if you guys didn't catch this last Wednesday, I think was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday.
I think it might have been Wednesday. So IPOE agreed to acquire or reverse merge with SoFi. It's a huge lending company, and this is just Chamath doing Chamath-like things. All these social capital SPAC stocks are just getting into some really incredible companies. And with IPOF, we've talked about this a lot, the funding that's going in the IPOF is double what it's going into all the other IPO stocks. Some of the leadership that's involved with IPOF consists of some really, really big names, such as the co-founder of Twitter. This actually started to move pretty significantly as a result of the IPOE merger. And so with it sitting at $14 a share, I actually bought into this last week because of that IPOE news, kind of like with everybody else, but I think that was still going to be a good move. My average on this one is around $13.53, closed at $14 after hours on Friday, even went all the way up to $14.33, so I'm feeling real good about it right now. I still think that it's cheap. I still think that it's cheap, and I think that there's something. I think that you'll be okay if you get a starting position in this $14 range and anywhere in this mid-teen range, and then if it somehow comes down lower, I think that there's definitely good opportunity to grab on the dip. But I don't think that we see this in the teens for too much longer.
Yeah, and we'll talk about SoFi in the future as it comes closer to the vote date.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So it's social financial. Two sort of random things I want to bring up. It's really annoying because IPO. DEF, whatever. It annoys me that it's called IPO when we're talking about SPACs. And it's social capital, and they're partnering with social financial, so they're just making it really, really confusing. But totally off topic, Chamath, I found something out interesting. today.
I know he's become your boy recently.
He's like my man crush. What? Did you know he's bullish on Bitcoin?
Yes.
But did you know that he no longer owns any Bitcoin?
No.
Yes.
Did not know.
He only invests in Bitcoin equities. Or like stocks. Sorry.
Okay.
So companies that invest in Bitcoin.
Like Square, for example.
Yeah. So I don't think he holds Square, but like Square.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is wild. I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah. So some other day we'll talk about why, because he
very
talked a little bit about why. But yeah, he's really bullish on it, but he doesn't hold any. But he has tons of equity in stocks that have exposure to.
You know, it's so funny. I'm sure our sentiments are different than what Chamath's is, but that's kind of how we are. We're bullish on Bitcoin. We think it's going to continue to move, but we would rather just go into companies that are kind of sort of involved in it and gives you a little bit more of a hedge.
Yeah, it is a hedge. And somebody said they were still in IPOD. I'm still in IPOD.
Yes.
That's doing really well. We're still both in Clover, right? You're in Clover?
Yes.
Because you couldn't get out?
Right, yeah. Yeah, so I actually own half of my IPOC/CLOV, which the ticker symbol changed on Friday. And it actually made some really good moves. Clover Health seems to be doing some really good things. People seem to be really bullish on it. And actually, it was on Mad Money on Friday. Somebody called in asking.
Really?
Jim Cramer's actually bullish on Clover Health as well.
Yeah, boy. Let's go. So that is our top 5 stocks. That is a solid list.
It's a solid list.
A well-diversified list. I think you can buy those 5 and just set it and forget it and come back in 20 years and you'll be sitting pretty.